So just to present myself, I'm a project manager. I work at Innova for 5 years, but I have been working for my entire career, I would say, more than 15 years in EU funding, proposal writing, project management. So maybe if there is something I can do, it's to search EU funding and to dig in this world. So I will try to guide you. This is my first objectives, I would say, for this session, to guide you through EU funding, explain you how it works, this EU funding world, and then give you some concrete examples on the type of funding you can get for your project. So, sorry, I have technical problems. I don't know how. Okay. So, welcome to EU Labyrinth. I say this because understanding how the EU works and how to, in terms of funding, and how to find the information is not easy, let's be honest. So I will try to give you some insight on the big pictures and some tips on the way to find. So EU distributes its funds at 2 levels. This is something that you have to keep in mind. So you have at European level direct funding that you can get through grants and tenders. So I will not talk about tenders today because I don't think it's for you. So we will focus on grants. Grants is when you answer a call for proposals and you get the money. You are the lucky one to get the money, and so you receive some funds that are yours to develop a project. So this is a grant. It's not a loan, it's not an equity something, it's money that goes to you, and then you have to report, of course, but it's your money. Then you have indirect funding that is distributed at national and regional level. So 80%, so big majority, 80% of the EU funding is distributed at national and regional level through indirect funding. So what is indirect funding? Is funds. There are 5 big funds. We will talk about this later. And they distribute their money through loans or participation, equity funding, this kind of thing. So meaning that somehow you have to devote the money, or it's it's another kind of funding. So keep this in mind for the next steps. So the EU distributes its funding through programs. So here, when you go to the funding and tenders opportunities portal, you have this big picture of the EU funding and their programs. So today we will explore more 3 programs that I think are more relevant for Arctic projects. So Creative Europe, Erasmus program, and Horizon Europe. Of course, according to your specificity and your project, maybe another program can apply. But I would say that it's not worthy for me to tell you about them today because it's really specific, but it's worth to explore anyway. So keep calm and explore this funding and tenders opportunities portal because it's really where you can find the information. Something that I think it's important to tell you at this point, while we see a little kitty, is that EU funding is very hard to get. The success rate is around 10%. So it means that 90% of people that send a proposal are not approved. So I would say that EU funding, in my view, is interesting if you need a push or something on a very specific aspect of your project, like development or research, or for me, it's a push that you help that you can have at some point, but it's never, or I think it should never be a source of revenue for you that you consider stable and sustainable and at long term, because there are a lot of things that can happen with EU funding. For example, now we moved from a framework that was Horizon 2020 to a new one, Horizon Europe, and it means that it takes time, and things are some programs, not programs, but some lines of budget have disappeared. So if you count on something coming from the EU, is really not stable, and I wouldn't advise you to include this as a sustainable source of revenue for you, and also because it is a lot of time and energy to dedicate to write a proposal. And so, okay, and so I mean, and the success rate is very low. So okay for a specific thing and specific duration, but I wouldn't say for long term. So now I will tell you how you can explore some calls by topic. So when you go to this page that I show you, you have the option overview of EU funding. Okay, they will direct you to a topic. Okay, so it's one way to explore and to find maybe some opportunities for you. So these topics, they correspond to the different directories that manage thematic calls. I hope you are following. And so it means that, for example, you have a certain directory general, like the ones that fund starts, which is DG Connect. I will talk about it later. And so you will see by their topic that they fund. So for example, if you search environment, you will get to the calls of DG environment, but you won't get to all the calls about environment. So this is a way, but for me, it is not the best way. I would advise you to explore calls by keywords. This is if you search for something very specific. So for example, you are interested in seeing opportunities on 3D printing or STEAM or arts. So you can do this. You go here in the portal in Find Calls for Proposal and Tenders, and you will see, and you will have all the results containing the words that you search, including the calls, but also the projects. So actually you will see some of the projects, STARS projects, because they have arts in their title. So this can be also a way to see both opportunities and funded projects, because I think it's important and interesting also to explore what is funded, what kind of project in STEAM, for example, is funded by the Commission, because it can give you an idea of what you can do, what they expect, and the type of projects they like to fund. So you can also explore calls by program. So this is personally my favorite way to find open calls, but you have to know first what is a program. So we will talk about Horizon Europe. So Horizon Europe is an EU-funded program for research and innovation. They have a lot of money, as you can see. So now we start a new framework beginning now this year and ending in 2027. So they have released at the end of last year their new missions and pillars and clusters. So this is all EU vocabulary. But in general, they have released the type of funds they will give in the 7 years that will come. So it's very interesting to dig into it, to see how this works and the type of funding that is important for the Commission, let's say. And you see that it's a lot of money. So very interesting program indeed. Then you have Erasmus Plus. So it's about education, training, youth, and sports. So you see the difference of budget, and you draw your own conclusion on the priorities of the Commission. But of course, in in Horizon Europe, there are also projects in education, but there are more turned for research. Erasmus Plus is really a program that is for action, I would say. So for example, I was thinking about 20W1, one of the teams of Stars in Motion that told me that they are interested in education projects. And also some of you, you have this dimension of education in your project. So it can be interesting to look at this program. And then you have Creative Europe. So a smaller budget, one of the smallest actually of the European Commission, and it's about culture and media. So again, it shows you what are the priorities, let's say, of the European Commission, and it's good to be aware of this. This is interesting, so we will see more in detail about this one. So don't get lost in EU Wonderland and find calls. So for example, if you want to go and explore Creative Europe, this is for me one of the most interesting for you. You can go there, and on the right, I think, let me check, you have an option yes, on the right, find call for proposals. So you click there and you will see the open calls. So you can explore. There are some open calls at the moment, and you have here the link to see. So for example, now you see the call that is open, and you can explore, and you can select also if you want, for example, only grants that are open and for Creative Europe. So you have to use these filters because there are so many information that you are lost when you search in this portal. So okay, so now I hope it's clearer for you. I'm sorry, I saw I see the messages in the chat, but I can't go out of the presentation. But you will have all the information with the presentation. And if you want to search now, I think you can go to funding and tenders. No, tenders. Well, I don't know. Tenders, opportunities, portal, something like this, and you will arrive in this page. So now we will go deeper and see some specific calls that fund starts, collaborations, and art tech collaborations and projects. So I will talk to you a little about starts, because let's say in the European world and funding, this is one of the initiatives that is more interesting for you as art tech projects. So starts is an initiative funded by DG Connect about 5 years ago. And it's aimed at supporting collaborations at the crossroads of science, tech, and the arts, of course. And so START is not a program like Erasmus or Horizon Europe or Creative Europe. It's an initiative, so it means that it depends on DG Connect. And DG Connect stands for, I don't know how, I don't have it in my notes, very strange. It's a digital single market. So I tell you this because I think it's super important always to know who will fund you, because knowing who will fund you, you will see what are their priorities, the other projects that they are funded, their objectives, and so you can somehow not adapt your project, but you know, somehow tailor a little your proposal to fit in the general objectives of your funder. And this is very important, of course. I mean, it's obvious. If you don't match their priorities, you will not get funded. And so DigiConnect, it's not Creative Europe. It's not about culture or creativity or the arts. It's about a single digital market with a very important dimension of a different growth, promoting a different growth for the future, a different economy of the future. And so they fund this kind of opportunities that will, let's say, give the possibility to explore new perspectives. And so this is why one of their initiatives is this collaboration with science and technology and the arts. So there are a lot of projects under the initiative of STARTS. So you can see it as an umbrella. An umbrella, so it means that you have DigiConnect. I think I put it, yeah. So you have DigiConnect on the top. You have, that is, funding STARTS broadly. And then STARTS gives money and some to some specific funded projects. So you have the STARTS Prize that you may know, coordinated by Eci Electronica, where they award art tech projects and art science every year during their festival. You had Where Sustain, you had STARTS Residencies, START Lighthouse, there are thematic projects, STARTS AI and Music, we have STARTS Regional Centers, Digital Innovation Hubs. So there are a lot of things, a lot of projects that are funded by STARTS. What I did with my, I don't remember, sorry. Yes, okay, so this is what I was telling you about how it goes. And now I would like to talk to you a little about these different projects that we have in STARTS, because then we have open calls for STARTS collaborations, of course. So the newest one that maybe you saw that we released a news that is starting now in April, it starts for water. So it's a lighthouse in the sense that it's a thematic pilot, and they will explore water management and all questions related to water. And they will release 11 artistic, I mean, they will open 11 artistic residencies in July. So this is quite confidential, what I'm telling you, but so keep an eye on this project, and of course in stars.eu, because you will have there opportunities if you are interested in this question of environment and especially in water. So, and it's here you have the link for the news where we talk about what is the project. Sorry, I have to drink a little. So now I want to talk to you about STARTS Regional Centers. So STARTS Regional Centers, as their name tells, they are centers physically, I would say, that we build now for 2 years across Europe. And we had a first consortium that established, I think, 8 regional centers in Italy, Spain, Belgium, and others. You have all this information in stars.eu. Then we had another currently, so it starts for sustainability with other regional centers. And starting in June, so again, it's it's not confidential, but it's you know, premier information. We will have more centers opening from June, and then we'll launch open calls for collaborations with I think 5 challenges, 5 topics to explore. So this is the objective of DG Connect and Starts, to go from, let's say, a global approach when it started 5 years ago, and now starting to go more local and local every time. So this is also interesting. And it doesn't mean, I mean, if you are not in Italy, it doesn't mean that you can apply for an open call for the center in Italy. So it's not restricted by country. Then I wanted to talk to you about digital innovation hubs that I think can be very interesting for some of you. So you know that, maybe you know, or maybe not, that there are digital innovation hubs across Europe now, and not only in Starts, of course. I think there are maybe 200 projects funded at the moment. This is something that is growing and growing, and more money is spent every time for digital innovation hubs. So away from the three little that I present to you, because they are from Starts, I think it's interesting also for you to see if there is a digital innovation hub in your region, in your country, and for sure there are, and what they are doing, because they are exploring and pushing these boundaries of technology. So it can be interesting also for you to start collaboration or anything. So, but in Starts, we have 3 digital innovation hubs. So Media Future is about media, fake news, how we, you know, information, this kind of things. Sorry, it's not so much my business. Better Factory is about tailoring. They will tailor some textile or you know, manufactories with the help of artists. And we have a project that is about artificial intelligence and robotics. And so they launch regularly open calls for artists. So their let's say their vision is that you have a challenge at technological level, and they call an artist to collaborate with you. So it's not like a Start residency where you co-create really something from the beginning between an artist and a tech. So it's a little different approach, but still there are opportunities. Now you have an opportunity open from projects. We had a call a few weeks ago from Better Factory, and there will be more. So keep an eye also on this if you are interested. So of course I will do a little publicity for myself and the Starts ecosystem project, because we manage the content of Starts.eu, and we put a lot of efforts on sharing opportunities and calls, and every we say worldwide opportunities that are related to funding for art tech projects. So there it's like a single entry point for this kind of opportunities. So keep an eye on this, and we try to be broad, and not only, of course, the Starts world, but also very, very large approach. And of course, yeah, follow us on Starts social media to be aware of what happens. So now I want to present you some other opportunities for Starts collaborations. First, there is an interesting one that is more about research and, let's say, conceptual and exploratory, but can be, of course, interesting for you, is GRC and Sea Art Society. So GRC is the same thing as like Starts, let's say. It's like something apart. And they have this Resonances Festival, and they release an open call every 2 years, and you are lucky because this year it's a year of open call. And so you have to send an application, which is not horrible, let's say, to send. And so you can have the opportunity to participate in like a residence in Italy. Beautiful place for reflection and for thinking and exchanges. So it's really conceptual, let's say. And then you have a showcase in these residencies festivals. And so every 2 years, they select 30 applications. So it can be interesting for you. Now you have, for example, if you go on stars.eu, you will see that there are currently some open opportunities that have nothing to do with STARS, let's say, but that are funding Artec projects. So, for example, you have Beyond Matters that has an open call for residencies now. So the deadline is at the end of next week. It's a 2-month residency that is fully funded. So research, how do you say, food and and place, and also production costs. So it can be interesting, and it's 3 centers. So you have different options, let's say. Sorry to ask you, but someone can tell me which time is it, because I forgot my cell phone in another room and I'm afraid that I'm late.
It's 4:30.
Okay.
4:30.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so you can see this kind of opportunities for residencies. And then, for example, another opportunity that is currently open with a deadline in May 10th is from Schoeffler. That is a previous partner from a STARS project. It's about AI and culture change. I just put here the summary, but it's super interesting. So if you work with this field, I encourage you to explore, because it's really a great residency. Okay, so now we will go through other EU opportunities. So Creative Europe, I will go very fast because you will find all the information. I would say that the course that I wanted to pay attention for is one that is released annually. And sorry, because I didn't update for the call of last year, but it's always the same. So it's, I mean, there are small changes every year, but overall this is the same. So every year, I think they release the call more or less in October, yes. And the deadline is in 1 month. And so it's very short, so get prepared. I mean, it's not ideal, let's say, because they don't fund 100%, they fund 60%. So you have to bring your own funds somehow. But it's really for and only creative entities. So it's really restricted, let's say. And for you, I think it will be interesting to apply for the category 1 because it's smaller scale. Then you have category 2 for big scale cooperation projects. So this is the kind of things that they fund. A lot of things actually, so it's very open. This is why also I like it, because usually a call from the EU is very directed, very, you know, you have the frame and you have to be in the frame. For this one, you have a little more freedom to make a proposal that is maybe more out of the box or original, or you can propose things. And it's really the objective of this call. And that's what is interesting. I think is one of the only calls that has really at heart to target people, young people, refugees, people with disabilities, underrepresented groups. So it's also interesting in that aspect. So keep an eye on this around October. Hopefully it will be released. So now we will go through Horizon Europe. So remember the big budget from the EU. So it's one of the main programs, of course, of the European Commission for research and innovation. And so I will just focus now on the pillar 2, cluster 2, which is about culture, creativity, and inclusive society. Because it's really the one that fits better Artec projects. So for this one, they will promote yes, they are open to the UK. Yeah, you have managed this. Their call, if you see their work program, and then I give you the link in the other slide. It's about democracy, so it's super important dimension in here. Democracy, governance, citizens' participation, and promotion of cultural heritage. So these are the main topics that they will fund in the next years. But there are also technological and cultural transformations that can be interesting for you. So for me, if you have to look at Horizon Europe, it's these clusters that you have to look at, because of course, if you have a project, for example, in health, that is the case for some of the Stars in Motion teams, you can see the cluster that is related to health, of course. But maybe you don't fit in any call because it's really directed for health and health applications. So, but it's worth it to explore. But in general, for Artec, this is the one. So here you can see the work program, because as I told you, this is part of the new framework of Horizon Europe. So the program, the framework, it just started at the beginning of the year. And so European Commission, you know, it's very bureaucratic and things take time. And so now they are releasing the first open calls. The first ones were at the beginning of the year about the new Green Deal. And now progressively they release the open calls of the clusters. If I'm not sure, thank you, Eloi. Yes, I will give you my presentation afterwards. Don't be worried. What I was saying, sorry. Yeah, so they have slowly, they are releasing the open calls, but they had already at the end of of last year giving their work program. So we already know the kind of calls they will release. So you have a little summary in this work program. And so you can see and you can prepare. I mean, you don't have the calendar, but you can see, okay, this one, I think it's for me from the description. So maybe I will already see if I can get a consortium, start to talk with partners and maybe have already a concept note, starting thinking about this. Okay, so this was for the pillar 2. Cluster 2. Now I want to talk to you about Eci Accelerator. So it's another, it's not a program, but it's not another line of budget, let's say, from the Commission. And this one is more practical in the sense that it's really the go-to-market fund of the European Commission. So it's not Artec, especially, but for Stars in Motion teams, I thought it was interesting for you. So it's really for startup and spin-out companies, and they receive. So you receive coaching, mentoring, access to investors and corporates, and other services of the European Commission. So it means that, I mean, for young companies that are innovative, it's a fund. It's the one. They look at TRL 6 to 8, so it's not really the beginning, but still. And you can have a quite good grant, and it's a grant, so it's interesting to remind. And also it's only for profit organizations, so for the others, but you have to have a company for this. And normally the projects that are funded, it's between 1 and 2 years. So for this one, I made some print screen about what they say in their website. So what I think it's interesting also, away from the services and the grants that you can have, is that it's not a heavy application, because at the contrary of the Horizon Europe application, I don't know, maybe some of you have done one already. It's really painful process. You have 50 pages, you have to be very precise, it's super competitive, it's really a work in itself. For this one, for this accelerator, you have to send a pitch and you receive then a feedback in 4 weeks. So it's also pretty quick, because in Horizon Europe and Creative Europe, it's between 4 and 6 months. So it takes long, to wait to see if you will be funded. So it's relatively quick process and not very heavy. And if they like your pitch, then you go to the next stage. So it's really also, it's interesting at the level of your resources to spend. And so you have this accelerator challenge that you can also participate in. And you see that you have 2 deadlines for this year, in June and in October. So you can have a look and explore to see if it can be interesting for you. So this is it for, let's say, the big global EU funding. Hope you liked it. And now we will go through some, let's say, a little different type of funding, which is called cascade funding. So what is cascade funding? Cascade funding it's a big word, let's say, to say that, let's say you have a funded projects. You have an example that is here on the list, Vogext. So it's one of the digital innovation hubs of STARTS. They are funded by STARTS, okay? And then they release some open calls themselves for people or for entities, or for, usually it's for entities. So you see the cascade: EU funding, START, DigiConnect, STARTS, project, and people. And so now it's a very common approach in the EU projects that have developed a lot in the last years. And so this is why now you have a page dedicated to cascade funding, and it's quite hidden and quite unknown from people, because it's quite new, and people don't know that they have this page that they can access to. So it's quite interesting, and there you have all the projects that release opportunities. They own a little open call, let's say, that it's not always so little in terms of money. Let's be honest. So this can be interesting. And then I will talk to you a little about national funds. So reminding that it's indirect fund, okay? It's not so funny, it's not a grant. It's a different kind of help, of support that you can have from the European Commission, but it's not a grant. And I will focus on one especially that is for me the more interesting for art tech projects, let's say the more accessible, and also because it's general. So I can talk to everyone by presenting Eurostars, but you have to know that in your country, then you have your own lines and your own priorities, and even in your regions there are priorities according to the social and economical environment. So you have to look at what is done, and it's not possible for me to talk to you about this today. But this one, Eurostars, it's interesting. They have a good budget, quite comfortable, because reminds that 80% of the EU funding go to national and regional level, so you can see clearly here. And so it's a decentralized funding procedure. So it's funded by Eureka. Okay, you don't care. And so they, you see it, their project is managed by their respective funding body and according to their national funding rules and procedures. So it means that you have Eurostars at national level, and in every country you have your own Eurostars, let's say, and they have all their own rules. Okay. So you see here in which countries they are present. They are in dark blue, and the ones that are not represented. So sorry for Romania, Greece, and Italy, still not present. I don't know how, why, and Cyprus. But for the others, this is can be a great source of revenue opportunity. And so what is their main objective is to support the development of rapidly marketable innovative projects. So it means that you are ready to go to the market, or you are already on the market and you want to develop. So this is maybe after Eci Accelerator, which is a push for the beginning, then you can have this, this kind of funds. And as I said, so every country has its own rule. Sorry, I forgot this one. And I took the example of Germany, randomly, let's say. So you have, you go to Eurostars Germany, let's say. You have here the link, so you see Eurostars, Eureka, countries, Germany. So you can always select your country. And you have access to the rules for Germany. So you see that their funding of eligible cost is 50%. So it means that they will not give you, for an SME, they will not give you 100% of your budget, let's say, but they give 100% for public universities and other research entities and academic. So you see they have their own rules. So of course, I encourage you to go and explore Eurostars in your own country. So I know that this is a lot to digest, and I went fast because you see there are a lot of things, and I'm almost 1 hour. But what I want to, oh, sorry, I forgot that I had this kind of thing. So what I wanted to tell you is keep calm, okay? It's all good, and you have people that are specialists, let's say, in your country, and that can help you, and who are here to help you. So who are there? You have your Chamber of Commerce and Industry that you can go and see and what exists in your region. You have the digital innovation hubs in your country also, as I said. They maybe have a cascade funding. They can be maybe your partners. They can give you some advice. So they are really, can be really interesting for you to talk to. You have also your National Innovation Agency. because their role is also to promote innovation and to give advice to people like you who want to be funded. I don't know in other countries, but in Portugal, they are very keen to talk with young companies and to give advice. And of course, and maybe this is the main one, you have your EU national contact point. Who is this person? So it's a representative of the EU in your country. Because of course Brussels may be hard to reach, but in your country you have always an entity that is a representative of the European Commission. And so of course they handle the national level and regional, but they also are, let's say, as their name says, the contact point between the country and Europe and the more global level. So they are really an important intermediary, and they will help you. It's very easy to find their contact. You type EU national contact point, France or Portugal, whatever, and you will see who is the entity that is your national contact point. And also, of course, I have to say, I will have to talk about consulting company because I work for one. But just to tell you that if it is really an EU funding that you really want to have one, and this is something that you count on, and you bid on having an EU fund for your development, it can be interesting for you to explore to pay a fee for a consulting company, because first, you will save some time and some years of your life because they will handle all the administrative and logistic and this kind and budget also things, and so this can be also a possibility for you if you really want to invest a little money for a proposal. So that's it. Thank you. I hope you like it. Now I will stop sharing my screen and see you again. Okay. So thank you. I think I never talked like this so much. So now I won't talk anymore. I mean, I will listen to your questions. If you have, tell me.
I have some questions. I have maybe two that come to mind. Knowing what you know about our project Privy 2, which of those things that you presented us with would you send us directly towards? That would be my first question. And then just for your advice, even though I looked through all of it, and I will continue to look through it. And then second, how much do those consulting companies typically charge or cost for proposal writing?
Okay, so for you, I would say that there are many things to explore, maybe. National funding can be interesting, these Eurostars. This can be also, I mean, it depends on your objectives, I would say. It's really, if you want to, we can talk further about it together, because if your objective is really to develop, for example, still do research on your solution, it can be an EU Horizon Europe funding, maybe, but it's really hard to achieve. So you have to do be in a consortium, and it's big budget. It can be also the Eci Accelerator. Why not? So I think for you it's quite open. And then I can give you the fee. I don't know if I am allowed to tell you this, but I say it.
Approximately, just like what is a general price range? And you don't have to recommend anybody specifically, but just what can you expect to pay for that kind of service?
Okay, so I don't know exactly the cost in Europe in every country, but I can tell you for Portugal it's between 4,000 and 6,000 for a proposal. I assume that is quite low comparing to other countries because you know in Portugal we are quite poor, so but yeah, maybe think about 6,000. I think it's maybe an average. Okay, who else? Okay, I see some questions here in the chat. I will see. So should the person applying for EU fundings be an EU citizen? No, it depends on the programs. For Horizon Europe, for example, there are other countries that are called associated that can apply also. I don't know. Are you still here? You are from Ukraine, maybe? I don't know by heart. Yeah, I don't know by heart, but I think Ukraine is in the associated countries. Yes.
As you know, Aurelie, UK is still associated, I'm glad to say.
Yes, it was a doubt at the end of the year, and you managed to do it. So congratulations.
I'm sorry, I didn't manage to persuade the man myself, but he doesn't often listen. But I think it must have been the president of the Royal Society, who is an Indian top scientist. I think he might have got a voice, and I think he did it with considerable success.
Yes, very good.
I have a question, please.
Sorry, Salome, I will just answer. I think between UK and France, I would say France. I mean, it's just maybe an assumption, but you know, with the situation of UK, even if they are still in, I think it's better from France. It's safer, let's say. Yes, Gilly, sorry.
No worries. Thank you. And thank you for this talk. A lot of super helpful information. One of the funding options had to do with the level of technological advancement. I think it was titled TRL, RTL, something of that sort. Something that had to do with a ranking between 6 and 8. Do you maybe remember what that means?
Sorry, did you hear me? It's a Eci Accelerator, yes.
Mm-hmm. And well, from what you know of our project, do we qualify for such a thing, or what does it mean exactly? Is that a running prototype, a later development?
For the EIC, you have to really have the, let's say, the capacity to go to the market and to be ready. I'm sorry because I'm not a specialist of EIC, so I'm not sure, but I think you could try it. Maybe not now, maybe when you have really worked on your business model and you are confident in doing the pitching. But yes, it's worthy. And also, as I was telling, I mean, it's not a lot of work. So I would try it.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have other questions? I see. Yes. Okay. Are there any resources like example and guidelines for writing proposal and applying for funds? Yes, there are. If you go to this funding EU, no, what is the name? I don't remember. Tenders and Opportunities portal. you will see that there are a lot, I mean, not a lot, but there are some guidelines. And actually, this is something that, sorry, I didn't tell, because for me it's obvious. But before, if you are not an expert in EU funding, before any writing proposal, you should go to the guidelines, because there you will see what the EU is expecting from you in your proposal. What they expect when they say a section of impact, for example. What does this mean? Expected results, or the kind of words that you have in the EU proposals. They explain what is communication, what is dissemination, for example. And so it's very important that you are aware of what is funder, but it's EU funding, but also every type of funding. What is your funder expecting from you, and what they want to see in the proposal. So yes, there are some guidelines. Are the fundings for individual, or you need to be a company? It depends. I mean, for Horizon Europe, for example, you have to be a legal company. But there are some funds for individuals, and for example, cascade funding that I presented, they have a lot of opportunities for individuals. So it's not like a very large budget, but this is one of the options for individuals. In general, the open calls from STARS, for example, they are also open to individuals. But in general, I would say that EU funding is more for institutions, let's say, broadly speaking. Associated. So actually, an association, it's good to be an association in the EU funding world, because sometimes calls are restricted for non-profit organizations. And it's more common to have this kind of restriction than the other way around, like it's only for profit. It's a case for, I don't remember the one I presented, I think it's Eci Accelerator, but in itself it's logic, because it's to go to the market. But so there is this difference between association and company. It's not the same in the EU world. And you will see that to apply to any fund at European level, you have to register also previously and to complete a profile. And they have these categories: SMEs, a large company, and so it's not only for statistics, it's also because sometimes they want only non-profit. Yes, they do this difference. You're welcome. Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, I guess I wanted to know what you know about, like, it all depends on the country that you are living in. It's not necessarily affiliations outside as for EU funding. Like, you could apply only through the national fund where your business is located or where you live. Is that correct?
Well, actually, it's about your registration. Where is your company registered? So you can be registered in Portugal and live in France. They don't care about France. So you depend on Portugal. So, but this is for national funding. Then for, I mean, the registration is always the criteria, let's say. It's not your country of residence.
Okay. Wait, and then just a follow up to that, then what is the best country to be registered in? Like, is there one that's more advantageous than the others?
Yes, there are, because I'm sorry for the French and German, but it's not the best place. I mean, they have a lot of money, of course, because they contribute a lot. They are big players, but they are also the ones that have more competitors and more big players. In France, that I know better, you have a lot of money, of course, but you have also big companies that are here and they know how to get funding, and they will beat you because they are bigger. So it's not, I mean, big countries or big donators, better said, they are not the best, because, for example, Netherlands, they are not a big country, but they are big donators. So it's also, but so this kind of information, you can find it because there are some reports. So what you have to look at is the difference or the ratio between the donation of your country, the importance of the money that your country gives to the Commission, and the size of your competitors, I would say. Cyprus, for example, is a very good place to get EU funding. And new, I would say, how I can say this, newest countries in the East, it's also can be also interesting, because there is money, but there are entities that doesn't have so much experience. It's getting funding. So they don't know exactly, it's really less open, because in France, in Germany, you have historic players that every time there is a call, they will win it. And so it's much more difficult. So thank you, guys. It was a pleasure, and I see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.